Now, students, page number 14, second last paragraph, last line. One idiom is there, you underline. A perpetual state of poverty. Meaning of this idiom is a situation of always being poor. My dear students, word perpetual means continuous. Now, you have also seen in this idiom one word is there, poverty. Poverty, it is noun form. Its adjective form is poor and its verb form is impoverish. Students, now next paragraph. I remember a story a man from Udupi once told me. As a young boy, he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest. He would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later, I visited his town and the temple, which was now drowned in an air of desolation. In the backyard, where lived the new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. A young boy, dressed in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes, arrived panting and threw his school bag on a folding bed. Looking at the boy, I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. The goddess has granted his prayer. Young boys, like the son of the priest, now wore shoes, but many others, like the rag pickers in my neighborhood, remain shoeless. Students, here our author remembered a man from Udupi who, as a young boy, would pass a temple where his father was a priest and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later, the writer visited his town, and behind the temple there was the house of a new priest. Annis noticed that the young boy of the priest was wearing shoes, and the writer was reminded of the boy who prayed that he should never lose his shoes. The goddess had granted his prayer, as most of the young boys in that place now had shoes to wear, but rag pickers in her neighborhood still remain barefooted. Now for the reading and explanation. My acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers leads me to Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it. Metaphorically, those who live here are squatters who came from Bangladesh back in 1971. Saheb's family is among them. Simapuri was then a wilderness. It still is, but it is no longer empty. In structures of mud, with roofs of tin and tarpaulin, devoid of sewage, drainage, or running water, live 10,000 rag pickers. They have lived here for more than 30 years without an identity, without permits, but with ration cards that get their names on voters' list and enable them to buy grain. Food is more important for survival than an identity. If at the end of the day we can feed our families and go to bed without an aching without an aching stomach, we would rather live here than in the fields that gave us no grain, say a group of women in tattered saris when I asked them why they left their beautiful land of green fields and rivers. Whenever they find food, they pitch their tents that become transit homes. Children grow up in them, becoming partners in survival. And survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Through the years, it has acquired proportions of a fine art. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread, a roof over their heads, even if it is a leaking roof. But for a child, it is even more. I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note, Sahib says, his eyes lighting up when you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage. You don't stop scrounging for, there is hope of finding more. It seems that for children, garbage has a meaning different from what it means to their parents. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. For the elders, it is a means of survival. Now, our writer went to Simapuri on the outskirts of Delhi when the rag pickers lived in where the rag pickers lived in slums. Though near Delhi, it seemed miles away because it was not developed. It was home to 10,000 rag pickers like Sahib, who were in fact Bangladeshi refugees whose families came in India to settle since 1971. They lived in mud huts with roofs of tin and tarpaulin. They had no running water, no drainage. They had even not identity, yet they had managed to get ration cards. So they were able to at least buy food grains. They preferred to live where food was available. The children also did rag picking for survival. Over the years, rag picking had become an art. Garbage was gold to these rag pickers. It was their only support and means of income. Saheb told the author that sometimes he found a rupee or a 10 rupee note. Our writer realized that garbage had held a different meaning to both parents as well as children. For parents, it was a source for their livelihood, providing them with food and shelter. But for children, it was wrapped in wonder. Students, in this paragraph, line number 4, where you are given one word, squatters. Squatters, underline this word. Squatters here means come illegally. Illegally. So you have also come to know that for these rag pickers, food is more important for their survival than an identity. Another word is there, tattered. Tattered means torn. Torn. One winter morning, I see Sahib standing by the fenced gate of the neighborhood club, watching two young men dressed in white playing tennis. I like the game, he hums, content to watch it standing behind the fence. I go inside when no one is around, he admits. The gatekeeper lets me use the swing. Saheb too is wearing tennis shoes that look strange over his discolored shirt and shorts. Someone gave them to me, he says, in the manner of an explanation. The fact that they are discarded shoes of some rich boy, who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them, does not bother him. For one who has walked barefoot, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true. But the game he is watching so intently is out of his reach. One winter morning, the writer saw Sahib outside the fenced gate of the neighboring club. He was watching a game of tennis. Sahib seemed to be fascinated by this game. He told the writer that sometimes the guard let him in to ride the swings. The author noticed that Sahib was wearing tennis shoes which someone had discarded. He did not mind wearing someone's discarded shoes with a hole because for him it was a dream come true. Now, the last paragraph of the first story, students. This morning, Sahib is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister. I now work in a tea stall down the road, he says, pointing in the distance. I am paid 800 rupees and all the meals. Does he like the job? I ask. His face, I see, has lost the carefree look. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulder. The bag was his. The canister belongs to the man who's, who owns the tea shop. Sahib is no longer his own master. Students, here one day the writer saw Sahib on his way to the milk booth. He was carrying a steel canister, and Sahib informed our author that he had started working at a tea stall. He was being paid 800 rupees, and even he was given all his meals there. However, Sahib did not look happy. His face had lost its carefree look. The steel canister seemed heavier than the plastic bag he carried while scrounging the garbage. Sahib was no longer his own master, but he had to, as his owner told him to do. So, my dear students, here the first story about Sahib comes to an end. Students, now watch a short video about the same. Students, here you are given glossary. Read and try to learn. few more words here you are given with their meanings. Here you are given few multiple choice questions. Read them and write the same in your notebook. My dear students, I read the lesson and explained it. Story of the same is also told you. So with the help of this explanation, I hope you will able to write the answers of the given questions here. There are total 5 questions that you will write with answers in your notebook.